Surprise, everybody, I'm back. Hey, if you don't know who I am, my name is Karen A. Dahlman. I'm the host of Creative Visions TV, and welcome to the show. Well, it is a new year, so happy new year to you and yours. Now, I know you're going to be asking me, is this new year going to be great? It's going to be great. And I'll tell you why it's going to be great, because you're going to make it great. This year is about a year of self-empowerment and being responsible for your life, making those changes and steps in that direction. Now, the world around you is still going to be quite chaotic. You're going to see a lot of things being, well, let's just call it stones turned over. You're going to see a lot of the underbelly in your relationships, in life, in friendships, in family, in the world at big, in the grander scheme of things in the world. You're going to see these changes happening, and it's going to be maybe scary at times. It's going to be unpredictable. It's going to force you to change even more than you have over these last few years. Now, I know that a lot of people are feeling these changes. What I've been doing more recently, you guys, is I'm doing a lot of channeling off the board. The guides are coming straight through, and I'm offering readings that way. And I'll have a link below if you're curious about those readings. What I'm finding is a lot of people are just really trying to navigate these uncertainties. It's like it's gone full spectrum. It's beefed up quite a bit. It's like the uncertainties are on steroids. And so we have to find a way to not have knee-jerk reactions, but instead learn to respond and to be still in our center. And so I'm really going to pledge this year in my videos that I do for you to be focused on that, how to empower ourselves, how to navigate these times. Now, of course, my favorite tool is, guess it, it's the talking board, Ouija board, spirit board, right? So I will be talking about channeling in that manner, but I also will continue to have guests on who also work in the unseen dimensions in their own way to share with you their techniques and tips. Now, what have I been doing this past year? Well, I have been on a lot of shows. I haven't done too many of my own, as you guys know, because you've been reaching out to me and asking me. I've been traveling to paranormal events, but speaking engagements, been teaching. Like I said, I've been on a lot of other shows, but I've also been just acclimating to my new environment, which is now I'm in Arizona, right? Many of you, I've told you that I think about a year and a half ago. So I've been here about that long now. So I have some events coming up this year. Be sure to join my newsletter from my website if you're not already on it to learn what's coming up, because I am doing engagements now where I'm actually teaching and sitting with people on how to use the board and get these incredible responses and experiences and messages that I receive from the guides. One of my big focuses, you guys, is about tapping into your spirit guides, and most importantly, tapping into your higher self. So that's one of my big pushes, and as I explore the unseen dimensions and push the boundaries of consciousness. Now, I do have a new format to the show. I am now using Zoom. I've used it, I think, once or twice last year, but I'm using it now more for all the interviews, which means I have to do it a little differently. Also, along this new format of the show, instead of me in the beginning giving you a litany of the guests I'm going to bring on, I'm going to have them tell you about themselves, right? Hearing it from the horse's mouth, so it is, you could call it that. Hearing it from them directly really allows you to see into them and how they see themselves, and also, about more importantly, what they know about their own work. I'm just an outside observer trying to put it together, but they're going to be able to tell you directly who they are, what they do. So we're going to do that a little differently. So I wanted to kick off the new year, and especially this video, with somebody who I find is very positive, engaging. I enjoy the dialogue with him, and he's very knowledgeable in evidential mediumship. But I'm going to have him tell you all about it. So again, thank you for joining me here at Creative Visions TV. And without further ado, may we bring in our guest of the new year, which is Jeffrey Peck. Welcome, Jeffrey. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again.
Great to see you too. And you guys, I was just on his show, I think it was last month, and I will put the link to that show, because we're going to talk about different things in this show. But I'll put the link below, you guys, about the video. So if you missed that, you can catch it there. And we're going to learn all about Jeffrey here, I met Jeffrey, gosh, it's been several years, about 4 or 5, 6 years ago. I can't remember when, but I was at the Afterlife conference in Scottsdale, and we had a
Yes.
chance to catch up and meet, and it was really nice. And I've known him throughout the years because we also share a mutual friend, and we're in a special Facebook group together. So
Yes.
just saying. Happy New Year, by the way, Jeffrey.
Happy New Year to you too. It's going so fast.
I know. Last year just flew by. And so now we're stepping into 2023, you guys, 2023. Well, we're going to make it positive. Okay. I mentioned all the changes that are coming up, and we could still see those changes as being positive. So, Jeffrey, let's start by you telling us what an evidential medium is, because a lot of people may not know that term, that phrase.
So, evidential mediumship is the mediumship that, well, is evidence based. I mean, it's the information that your loved ones bring through pertains to their life with you in identifying factors that are not Googleable. Like a lot of cynics and naysayers will say that mediums Google or research on Facebook or whatever their sitters, their clients. And the things that come through are not Googleable. The personality, their favorite memory, the favorite memories that they had together as children or when they were children, and if this is their grandparent, right? It's the information that, like, say the person's spirit may have had a silly car accident that was a family joke from then on. Things like that, that's evidentiary. It's evidence. It is indisputable, but
Either way, we'll go with that.
You can't deny it. And it's really beautiful to have this information come through in such a way that is able to truly prove the existence of their lives moving forward, carrying on, continuing.
Yeah, it validates for also the sitter, right? The querent or the sitter, your client. I use the word querent, you guys, because that's what you use when you do it like tarot readings. but
Sure.
for the sitter, right? It validates for them that they're making contact, and you're giving that evidence. And I know you studied at Arthur Findlay College in England.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that a little bit? Because I am fascinated. I've never been there, you guys. I've considered going there one of the times when I go to the UK, and I will. I know I will in the future. But I just hear incredible things from people that have been there.
Tell
us
incredible.
about it, please.
It's incredible. It's it's Arthur Findlay College in Stansted, England, and it is this massive old world English mansion that, quite frankly, most of us that go there and leave, it's like a psychic medium's Hogwarts. And you go there with the intention of learning about your own connection, your own divine gifts, your own, because it's different with all of us, right? Some of us are super auditory, some of us are super visual. I went there completely green. I didn't really understand much outside of the experiences I had beforehand, and really learned that how my clairaudience works. Everybody that shows up is there speaking the same language. So it's truly fascinating, and it was a life changer for me. Everybody is there for the same reason. Everybody is there with the same intent. And the energy in that place is palpable. The etheric Wi-Fi, your spiritual Wi-Fi is, oh my gosh, it is so strong in that building, with the intention of everybody coming together and the intention of the space as it's been for 50 plus years, 60 years.
I think it's
now.
More like 100. It goes
a long
way
time.
Back. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, really incredible. And
well, you bring up a good point. You're learning there how to really tap into your way, because everybody has a unique way. We talk about on this channel a lot, Jeffrey, of tapping into the energies. Now, you guys know I love the Ouija board, so I love to channel. But I got to tell you, when I work off the board, I get information visually, auditorily, and I feel it. So, do you have for you, Jeffrey? Do you have main ways of you bringing in information?
So, yes, at the before I really understood my connections, I've always been very visual. Like I've been a huge, huge dreamer my entire life. My nighttime dreams are extremely vivid, lucid, clear, colorful. I mean, you name it. So I've always been very visual and feely. I'm super feely. The sentience, the clairsentience. I mean, I didn't understand at the time that you can actually feel what a name might feel like I didn't hear the name Michael, but I felt like it was Michael. And if you think about it, if you get somebody named Bernie versus Michael, if you feel into the name Bernie and feel into the name Michael, there's a difference in the feeling. And so you learn about all of this. I felt like I was deaf, but coming out of there, I learned that I was firing on all cylinders. Clairaudience, clairvisual, or clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizant, clairessence, the smelling,
Olfactory.
Olfactory. What's the tasting? Gustance? Clairgustance?
That's it. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When I was tasting somebody's lasagna, I mean, like, what? Or smelling cigars or smelling rose oil, it's like, wow. So I truly believe that we are all firing on all cylinders. We just don't fully understand what they might feel like or how they actually work within us, because I had demands and expectations that I didn't realize I had. For my clairaudience, I thought and expected that I was going to hear an old Jewish grandmother's voice on the outside with my physical ear. I thought I was going to hear this voice. I've never heard a voice on the outside of my head. Then I thought, oh, well, I'm going to hear this old Jewish grandmother's voice on the inside of my head. Nope. Never heard anybody else's voice on the inside of my head, just my own. So I've come to learn that the clairaudience for me is when random thoughts, random phrases just like drop into my head. I know they're not mine, but that's the clairaudience for me. That's how I quote hear.
That's so brilliantly said. I want everybody to really pay attention to this, because you asked me, how do I learn to do this? And it's you got to find your way. And the fact that when I tell you I hear these, I do hear things externally sometimes, but it's very rare. I do hear other thoughts come in, but I got to tell you, one of my main ways of doing this, and I've told you guys, it's just what Jeffrey does. And Jeffrey and I hadn't discussed this before. I feel it in my heart, and then I know it. And then I know the words. Okay. So I work similar to you in that regards. It's not that I always hear the words but I feel them. And then therefore it becomes an inner hearing. So I call it learning to listen with the ears of your heart.
Completely.
Right. You feel it, right? You feel it in your heart.
It's true. It's true. And in doing so, when you're learning this about yourself, because we are all wired the same, we all have the same connection. We're all dialed in the way that we are. We have to let go of preconceived expectations and demands. How we think it should be, how we think it is for others, it should be for us. When I recognized that I held these expectations and demands within myself, I was like, oh, I had my first Reiki master told me that I was a huge channel. Well, to me, channeling is like old school Seth. Remember Seth, the books, the works of Seth?
Seth. Hello.
Old school Abraham Hicks with Abraham and Jerry. That was my definition of channel, where you like trance, go into a state and some being sits in with you and starts using your voice. I was like, no, I'm not a channel. I'm totally not a channel. That's not me. I'm not a channel. And she was like, you need to change your definition of the word channel, because you are. And the truth is, all of it that we're doing, the clairvoyance, the audience, the sentience, it's all channeling spirit.
I'm so glad you said that, you guys. He's referencing transmediumship. And that was the old school way of channeling. That's what people began to say was only channeling. And people have a hard time still to this day, Jeffrey, when I say I'm channeling when I use a board. It's just another form of channeling. And see, you guys, I also brought with me my black scrying mirror. I got this one from Rosemary Ellen Guy. It was a gift from her. And I can channel that way by scrying, or my crystal ball, you guys, I can channel that way too. So we gotta widen the definition of how we see ourselves with using our inner tools. By the way, Your number one tool, you guys, is yourself. And I know Jeffrey's going to concur with us. We've had this conversation. Then we can use all this other extremity stuff. Now, what I've learned, Jeffrey, about the channeling, what's happened is because the consciousness is raising and we're kind of in this vibratory pattern you talked about earlier, like it being art at Arthur Findlay College, you get sucked up in that wave in a good way of the high vibrations because the world is changing consciously and we are becoming more aware through the changes that are coming up for you guys and have happened really a lot in the last several years. What it does is it allows you to channel in ways beyond your prescribed little box we thought it was.
Totally.
So what I'm doing now is, I told you guys earlier, I'm channeling off the board and I'm allowing the guides to come through. Now they get in my body and I'm doing trance mediumship. No, I'm so present, but I feel, I may hear, I see, comes together. You guys, you guys are all doing this, the hunches, and I just allow it to flow and get out of the way, right? You got to get out of the way, right, Jeffrey?
Totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the hardest part.
It is the hardest part because
let's be clear.
when we're doing readings for people, we can bring our own crap to the table and we have to really watch our filters and how we view the world. You know, and we go, well, I'm clear. No, nobody's clear. We all have our prejudices and our beliefs and our systems and our culture and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we really have to check that at the door. And I've learned to do that through the Ouija board. Okay. Because I think I learned it when I was a therapist. You had to really learn about countertransference and transference and really stepping aside and creating a safe place where people could just explore who they are. Well, I bring those techniques to the board. And now it's with me and my reading and channeling, direct channeling experiences. Be open, right? Be open.
Yes, be open and receptive. And put your baggage at the door.
I always say, check your baggage. No, since we're talking about different tools, as you guys know, I have to always ask my guest about the Ouija board.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what are your thoughts and beliefs and filters around the Ouija board, Jeffrey?
So I know it's a very real tool. I know that it's I think it centers around one's own beliefs and filters that they hold within. I know, we've talked about this on my show. A lot of people have the initial reaction that it is evil, or it's going to be a negative portal, or it's going to open doors to demons, blah, blah, blah. No, not any worse than connecting with a pendulum, right?
Right.
No different than using tarot cards, oracle, angel cards, you name it. No, I think it's amazing. I think what you're able to do with it is absolutely incredible. I used it when I was like 14, I think, with some high school friends. And we had really strange experiences with it. The thing was, flying across the board. There were like 4 of us holding onto it, touching it. And it was swishing around in the figure 8, just like in a figure 8, really fast. And then it would, spell out names, letters, words, whatever. And then we heard unusual noises around the house, like books were falling off shelves upstairs and unusual. This has nothing to do with the Ouija board, but that was the last time I did it. And I've had one. I mean, ever since I opened up 15 years ago, I'm just fascinated with all things spiritual. So I had to have one. And I have an Anne Stokes angel board that I got from England. And it's beautiful. I haven't personally used it until this last weekend. And I used it with my partner, Evan, and his sister.
I didn't know about this. Oh,
yeah,
do tell.
Well, it was a slow go.
Yeah.
And I know you've said many times, when you're just getting started with this tool, it takes some time. It takes some time to, and that's we felt it's like it wanted to move, and it would move slow. And then it started to move, and then it would just like stop, and then it would move, and it was going, but then it would just like stop. And so, we played with it until we were like, okay, nobody's home.
Well, you bring up a great point. I'm glad you shared that, because even though, you guys, even though Jeffrey is very experienced at doing mediumship and reaching in the unseen dimensions in a different way, it's not always going to just, the next tool you use is not just going to work right out the door. But
Totally.
I will say this, it can. I'm not going
Yeah.
to hold that. I'm not going to limit you guys,
Mm-mm.
but it doesn't always. And we've got to be honest. So that's great. I'm glad you tried it. Now, I wanted to show you my angel board. This was given to me by a psychologist. She made this and she sells it, and she sent one to me for me to try it out. And it's the Archangel board.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Isn't that cool? It folds in half. It's actually folds this way. I don't want to break it. And then it came with this cute little planchette. It looks like angel wings. And I've used this on my show. You guys could go back in a video. You'll see Rodney and I use this a while back. Now, I'm not big into the archangels, but I got to tell you what's been going on for me. In a lot of my readings, some different people, archangels are coming forward. That's not my deal. But that's what I'm saying. I have to get my filters and step aside, because I'm into angels. You guys know I have my own angel I talk to. But when the archangels come through, wow, okay, this is something new for me. But it's because my clients, they are bringing them forth. So I'm just giving that information. Yeah, it's fascinating. But thank you for sharing that Ouija board experience. I was hoping you two were going to use it soon. We had talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll continue to play with it.
Fantastic. Now, talk about the difference between psychic work and mediumship work, and can they go together, or do they?
So, well, yes and no. Okay, so the
great answer.
Yes. So, psychic work is where you are energetically connecting to another person's soul, another person's energy, another person's aura. Within that person's aura and energy, you're able to touch into their life experiences, their personality traits, their hopes, dreams, desires, fears, whatever, traumas, even, that psychically, we are able to psychically tap into the energy of a home, the energy of a piece of jewelry, where psychometry falls into play. And that's where we hold on to the article and start picking up visuals, maybe auditory. We get little marks of where this thing has been, what energy holds within this little piece. Okay, so psychically, you are connecting to the energy of a person, place, thing. Mediumship is where you are directly connecting to the soul of another person using your psychic faculties. So is it psychic? Yes and no, because you're utilizing your psychic faculties. You're utilizing your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your claircognizance, and so forth. But you're actually connecting with another person's energy on the other side.
So there's like a third being now involved. Or in that case, it could be many more. That's fascinating. I've always thought about this myself. And one thing that was taught to me from a dear friend who's actually transitioned, she's in the afterlife, she had shared with me that one of the things about doing mediumship is that you are also tapping into that person's, so you're tapping in, like you said, into the person that's actually in the afterlife or another dimension. We'll just call it that.
Yep.
It's so complicated, you guys. That's for another show. But yes. Right. We do have some really interesting stuff we're going to get into today, though. But anyway, so she told me that not only are you tapping into this other energy of the third person, but you're also tapping into the memories that person who comes to you of that third person. So you're kind of doing a little psychic stuff too, and that you're doing a lot of tapping into. So I could see that
can happen.
Difference, because I do both. I do both as well, as you guys know, with the board and also off the board. I do both as well. I just use different techniques.
And
fascinating.
And so the difference between those two things, yes, you can tap into somebody's energy and touch into memories they have with said person in spirit. That is psychic work. That's not connecting to the third person in spirit. When you're connecting with the third person in spirit, you are truly connecting into their field, their being. And let me give you an example about this, because
please do.
So in one particular reading, I was talking with a gal whose father-in-law was coming through. Her husband's father was talking about the marshmallows, You've got to remind him about the marshmallows. And she goes, I don't know anything about marshmallows. And I said, and I started giggling. I'm like, he's not going to let the marshmallows go. This is a really big memory, a really big cherished memory for him. And he wants you to remind him about the marshmallows. So she goes on with her day. The next day I received an email from her where she did talk to her husband, and her husband, every week, he and his father would go to the baseball game. And before the baseball game, they would stop at the candy store on the corner and they would buy marshmallows every week.
Oh
Now,
my God, I got major chills through my whole body.
Here's the thing within this story, I was getting it directly from his father. Mm-hmm. It was not in her consciousness. No. It was not in her field, in her energy, in her memories at all. So that's the difference.
That's wonderful. Thanks for clearing that up for us, because I think a lot of people here do a little bit of each. Oh, okay, you guys, we can all do a little bit of everything. I think that's really important, but we don't really understand that. So thank you for clearing that up for us. So you guys, I wanted to talk to Jeffrey today about the topic of soul contracts. Now, I was speaking earlier to you guys about things are changing, and we can learn to navigate that as a response instead of knee-jerk reactions. There's a difference between being reactionary and being more responsive. And so soul contracts come to play with things that are happening in our life. Now, this is not to shame or blame when something happens to somebody, but it's a way to look at it to empower ourselves. So what would you like to say about soul contracts? What does it mean?
Ooh,
what does that mean to you? I like to throw curveballs here.
Big topic.
I listen. I love doing this to people. I love throwing things out there, and let's just chat.
So soul contracts. We all have soul contracts with each other, with our family members, our friends, our enemies, our pets. These soul contracts are things that we are essentially fated with. We can't change who our parents are. We can't change where we're born, what culture we're born into. These soul contracts we have, our soul makes a plan on what we're going into this world, this life for. Are we going to learn through healing? Like maybe we're going to be a doctor, maybe we're going to be a psychic medium, maybe we're going to be an energy healer, right? So within these soul contracts come challenges. Within these challenges and obstacles we set up for ourselves, they can be extremely painful. A divorce, maybe an extremely painful divorce, soul contract. How are you going to get through that? The best, most highest and best good is by, tapping into your inner heart space, stepping out of the victim. We all have the victim in us. It's totally okay. Step out of the victim and recognize, here, it is what it is. There's no going back. There's no changing the past. Recognizing that this is in your best and highest good, and you got to move forward. So the soul and there, that goes, in so many directions. Car accidents, really deep tragedies, traumas, you name it. Even the really difficult topics with abuse, where sometimes somebody who abuses and or is abused, that's a soul contract. And what if that was put in place specifically for the true growth of that soul, to be able to move through? Let's say I was the one that was abused, and let's say I've got to get through this in such a way where I might be able to step back. I might be able to look at this from a higher perspective, with a spiritual set of eyes, with an open heart. Mm-hmm. Maybe the person who abused me was abused so bad as a child that he or she really just didn't know any better. And it was a reactionary behavior pattern that was transferred from generation to generation to generation. And maybe it's in my soul's destiny to recognize this and free myself from the bonds of that resentment and that anger and those pains that can just weigh us down for life. And when we get to that point where we can truly find that space of forgiveness, that radical forgiveness, that's where the soul growth exponentially happens within this life. when we
And
can
that's
move
when
through all of that
freedom
pain.
comes.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom. And
True
I want to
freedom.
make a point. I think you explained that really well. And I want to make a point too. As a therapist, it's never okay to be abused. And it's not like you should be shamed or you created this, you made this happen. It's that what can you do now when that generational patterns happen? Where can you step up and find your freedom within it? Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It really means you free yourself. That's a key that we got to understand that. So when you're going through this next year and things are going to be hard, or they're going to be topsy-turvy or turning upside down again or around, or the craziness that's been going on, it's going to continue until we really get more empowered with through all this. It's like, look at it as, what's the golden nugget I can find within it? What's something that I can take from that? As you said, I love it. You said the bigger picture. What can I see in it that maybe it could help me. Maybe I can ingest this and allow it to work for me in my life. Maybe I need to cut some boundaries or make some boundaries or cut some relationships. Maybe I do need to move. Maybe I need to end that situation over here or say no, and that's what it means. That's what it really means. So soul contracts, I do believe, like you said, that we put this together before we come into this world as in this third dimension. As a past life therapist and regression therapist and a psychotherapist, we used to follow the energy back in hypnotherapy to find out where did this issue that they have in life, let's say it's major depression event, follow it back. And I found my clients going back to earlier in life. I saw them going back into other lives and even in between lives. And I was so interested in the in-between lives, as my clients were too. They're like, what's this? I go, let's just see what it is. And they would find out that they would they would do a life review there from the last incarnation. Then they would think about how they can grow, where they are, what needs to happen next, and eventually put that into place. I love it. I think it's Shakespeare that said, we are all each other's actors in a greater play for each other. Right. And that's a gist, you guys. Don't say I said it wrong, because I know I said it wrong. But the idea is we really choose these people, like you said, family, pets, friendships, even just things that you might think are benign, like the coworker at work who's just not fun to work with. We've all had those. And it's there to help you, nudge you gently into a new way of becoming.
Yes.
And that's what this is about. So I love that. Soul contracts. So we're talking about things that happen in your life that can be hard to handle. And you said, Jeffrey, get into that heart space. Okay. Now I'd really like you to talk to the audience about your own white light experience about the heart space. You and I spoke about it a little bit on your show. I'd like you to share, because you guys, after all, this show is about tips and techniques to empower yourself in life and with the unseen dimensions. So please, would you share your techniques? Because this will help people if you're stuck in something that you feel like is like, I can't forgive because I can't free myself. I don't know how to get out of the cyclical generational abuse or generational thing that's happening in my life, or how to end these horrible feelings I have or the depressing feelings I feel. Well, tell us about this technique, because it's brilliant. It's just brilliant.
So, having been practicing for the last 15 plus years, I learned through a lot of meditation, CDs, tapes, guided meditations. I think they're great. They help you stay focused. They help you keep the monkey mind at bay. You're really focused on who's talking and telling you where to go and what to do within your own mind, within your own heart. And eventually, somewhere along the way, you start to kind of shift what you've been listening to, and you start to apply it in a way that is more custom to you. And you're being guided by your own intuition of what works for you. So this particular practice that I have, I sit myself down, especially in times of stress, in times of anxiety. I have to sit myself down and I always have some form of meditation music going. I always need that to help put myself more on a level of even, where I'm not like bouncing off the walls. So I focus on my breath and I take deep, long breaths. And I imagine that those breaths are going into my heart, into this little spark of light. Within this little spark of light, with each deep breath, that little spark of light gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger with each breath, a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. It's like each breath is blowing up this little balloon of light within your insides. That little bright light, as it grows larger, it gets brighter. Suddenly, as the breath has now I feel more in tune and I'm more calm and I'm more at an even, a rested, calm heart rate. You know what I'm saying? I sense that my entire inside of my body is lit up. Once I feel the entire inside of my body lit up with my light body, I start to radiate on the outside. With each breath, the light continues to get bigger, and now the light is coming on the outside of my body, and now it's like starting to form a little bubble around me. With this little bubble of light, I see it shining within my entire room, the space. It's so bright in here, I can't see anything but light. So I sit within this little bubble, and then I imagine from the core of my root chakra and the top of my crown chakra, the white light within myself now shoots from my core chakra into the center of the earth, like a big Hollywood spotlight, boom, straight into the center of earth. And this beam of light going to the center of the earth is grounding me. It's grounding me within myself, to the earth, to the energies of the earth. And from the crown, I get the beam of light that shoots straight into, I call it the middle of heaven, the middle of the universe, the middle of the ethereal, unseen world. And when that light is up in the spirit world, heaven, they both respond and bounce right back into my heart. And like a mushroom cloud. And that happens 3 times. By the time the third one comes down, the bubble is so large, it's surrounding basically all that is the universe, our galaxy. I feel like I see myself floating in all that is. You can see the universe. You can see the universe, or the universes. You can see the starlights. You can see the twinkles. You can see the bright, you know. And in that space, because I'm surrounded in the white light, I innately, by default, am protected. I innately, by default, am within the core of my own soul. And I sit there. Within that white light, sometimes I ask who needs to tell me something. What do I need to know in my best and highest good? And I might sense my guide walk up to me. I might sense my grandmother walk up to me, or a friend, or a neighbor, somebody I know, personal, or a spirit guide, like I said. And they have some things to say. We'll have conversations. Not every time. Sometimes it's just me sitting there to put myself in a nice, calm place. And then when it's all done,
that's amazing.
I close the doors.
I got to tell you, Namaste. You guys, I can listen to his voice all day. I went into almost this trance-like state, telling you that really brought me very centered. Just listen to your voice. And I mean, seriously, you guys, what you could do is go backwards on YouTube, go to where he started talking about this, and you could just play it and sit there and visualize as he's saying it. It was great. It was great.
Thank you.
Well, when you get into that space, and here's me all hyper, when you get into that space, yeah, you guys, I have a lot of energy. You guys know that, but I can easily get in that space. That's very similar to what I do. And in fact, when I first started learning to direct channel off the board in the last it was about 10 years, I did a technique very similar to that. And that technique has allowed me to meet them, to merge with their energies. And also, as you and I spoke about before, Jeffrey, I use that similar setup to do the CE5, which is the close
Yeah.
encounters of the fifth dimension of talking to extraterrestrials. Now, that's for another show. I have a lot to say about that this year, and you're going to hear it from me, you guys. But listen, you can use this to meet your guides, to meet loved ones, to calm down, to get an answer or insight, to talk to your higher self, spirit guides, etc. Because things are crazy. Things are uncertain. Change is coming, and you want perspective on it, right? This is how we begin. You guys, the more you do techniques such as what Jeffrey just shared, the more you're going to find yourself being able to get quicker into that center. Like I went right into it as he was speaking. I was like, "Oop, I'm there." and then, then you find a way to close it down and come back out and do your life. But the thing is this, when you're there, use this as an opportunity to get insight and clarity and guidance into your life.
Yes.
And that's what you use it for, isn't it? Use it for different things such as that nature.
Yes, completely. All of that.
Do you teach your clients this?
This is the first time I've ever verbally said what I do. So no, but you got me thinking maybe I should do a recording and, put it to some nice music and.
Absolutely. This is what people need. And I know you do this for yourself. And because, people go to him for readings. You don't want to waste your time, like, unless you want to get trained, but you for a training for sure, or to share it on your YouTube channel, because it's nice. And it helps you really activate the light within. Yes. That was my third book. The Spirit of Alchemy is all about learning to activate the light within and then to meet source in this space. For if you want to do this work, you guys, and get that clarity and guidance, it happens in here, within your heart, within your own body. This is where the universe is. This is your access point, your channel, your vessel, your direct line, your Batman phone.
Yes.
To the big guy source. Okay, which is really all that is. We're all part of source. So that's I don't need to explain mine, because that's very similar to what I do. And I think you find that everybody does it maybe a little differently, which is fine. But the whole idea is to fill yourself with light, ground, send out, receive the other light, and merge together.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I know you guys out there have your ideas too. And if you want to share any of techniques you use, please share them down below in the comments section. I think we all can learn from each other, as I've always said on this channel. We all do things differently, right?
Yes, totally.
Now, I had a reading from you quite a few years ago, and he brought through some real specific stuff. Talk about the evidential mediumship. I was like, this is real.
And that was when I was green as green could be. I was just really coming out and starting to fully, with intention, practice.
And he was good. He was good out the bat. And so, that happens sometimes. So where can people find you? Because you do readings. So
yes, absolutely. You can find me at my website, jeffreypeck.com. That's JEFFREYPECK.com. I am on Facebook, Jeffrey Peck Medium, Instagram, Jeffrey Peck Medium, YouTube, Jeffrey Peck Medium. I have a podcast called Something Super Spiritual, and it's everywhere you could get your podcast. Plus, I put the visuals on YouTube, so people can watch and listen or listen.
Yeah, you guys, and go over and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Let's get his numbers up for him.
Yes,
and his podcast. It's great. And like I said, I'll put the link below to the one I was on, and start listening to his show. And join him on social media. Everything's under Jeffrey Peck, and all the links will be below in the description section. Neat stuff going on. So what do you see happening in the year 2023, overall general, and then also for your own self?
Overall general. Well, as you had said, we are absolutely in the midst of change. It goes without saying. I mean, you don't have to be psychic to know that,
Right.
But what I find synchronistically interesting is, I think it's this summer of 2023 that the United States is in its Pluto return.
Yes.
It's or the end of its Pluto return.
Yeah.
There's something like that. And that's big. I mean, Pluto returns are enormous. And
our country was founded under the exact same astrological presence.
Yeah. So it's big. And I think that obviously there are a lot more people opening up and waking up to the fact that we are more than just this body. There are a lot more people waking up to the fact that this is not a bad thing. It's not scary. It's not evil. It's not the devil. It's not against, although it might be against dogmatic religions. They're really, I have found that it really coincides with all the good things that religions have to say, you know, versus being completely opposite, you know.
Right.
Not a huge religion fan, but you know, there's some good things within religions. But this is all very part of who we are as human beings. And people are waking up to that. Word is out there with podcasts, with the YouTubes, with you and I doing what we're doing. I love spirit so much. I just want to scream it from a mountaintop. And my mountaintop is my podcast.
Yes. Yes.
And I just want to share everybody I know with everybody, including you. You know, we did that just a couple weeks ago. So I see a lot of change happening for me personally. There's a lot more of like being guests with friends like you on their platforms, their shows. And I'm going to be getting out there more with the public, doing public readings, public demonstrations, Facebook Lives, because I'm still relatively new, not new in doing this, but new doing this full time.
And being in the public with it.
That's
now.
the scary part, you know,
Yeah.
that's like, you know, so that's coming. Yeah. But you know what, with friends like you, I mean, doing it with people like you is like, it's everything, you know. It's like, I feel like we can do anything together. And so I'm like, okay, Spirit, if that's where I got to go next, then just hold on tight. You know, close your eyes, count to 10 and go.
Yeah, you know, take a leap of faith. And
Totally.
I think one great thing you have going for you too, we have a lot of good things going for you, but one great thing is this technique you use, because that really, you guys, I can't stress how important it is to find that technique that centers you, because then you start getting you start noticing the synchronicities, and then you start manifesting and creating.
Totally.
Because you start magnetizing it to you. And this is the reason why I asked this question, you guys, because I'm going to ask you too, and you could put it down below in the comment section, or you can just think about it later on your own, because this is the first show of the new year. We're thinking positivity and positively in 2023 is to really state what it is, where you see yourself going, and to do it. Just start heading in that direction and let everything synchronistically fall into place.
Yes.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Amen.
Yeah, amen to that. So I just want to say to the audience, listen, wish you the best new year. Start using some of these techniques my guests are sharing here. As I mentioned, I'll be sharing a lot of my own stuff too, and have really cool guests this year. I'm so excited. And Jeffrey's the first kickoff of this. And Jeffrey, any final words? Yay! Any final words you'd like to share with the audience?
Final words. You know what, I'd like to tell everybody out there listening that it gets better.
Yes.
It absolutely gets better. There are so many of us going through such trying times right now, whether it's in the midst of grief after losing a loved one, or in the midst of grief after losing, let's say, a relationship or a friendship or a career, or we have to move, you know. I mean, there's a lot going on. And I would just like to encourage everybody to really take, even if it's 3 minutes, just 3 minutes a day, and sit yourself in that space with intention of grounding yourself, connecting with your soul in that light, and just take, even if it's 3 deep, calm breaths. It'll totally straighten yourself out. You know, you won't feel like you're bouncing off the walls. That monkey mind will go.
Yep. And in some cases, you may need it more than once a day. I know for me, when things get really stressful, I need it several times, and going outside and grounding. Yeah. So wise words. Listen, it's been an absolute honor having you as my first guest, our first guest here, you guys, of the new year. So thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Thank you. It's been an honor for me to be your first guest. This is awesome.
Yeah. You're very welcome. So everybody, get out there and set your intentions. Try this technique that Jeffrey taught us. Use it throughout your day, at least 3 deep breaths, as he mentioned, and go out there and intend a positive new year, no matter what's going on in your life. And you might just be surprised how it starts magnetizing to you. It's magic. Happy
Yes.
New Year, you guys. Bye.
Happy New Year.